Good morning, students. We'll wait for a few minutes and then we'll start. Let the students join. Sorry. So let us start now. You can see the presentation. In the last lecture, we revised quasi contracts. Quasi contracts, can you see the presentation? We will revise in short, the quasi contracts. By the time the students join, then we'll start with the revision of the next chapter. Quasi contracts. Quasi contracts are implied contracts. Sometimes the relations created by the transaction between the parties resemble with. Resemble with means what? Similar to. With the relations created between the parties of a regular contract. Such contracts are called as like contracts or quasi contracts. So these contracts are implied contracts. So when the regular contract is entered into, the relation is developed between the contracting parties. So similar relation is developed here in such transactions. Now, to specify or to simplify it more further, you may say that in some transactions, all the essentials of valid contract may not be present. You have studied what are the essentials of valid contract. There has to be a proposal. The proposal is required to be accepted. Then it becomes an agreement. There has to be consideration in the agreement. Then it becomes a contract. Correct. And the agreement, there has to be consideration in the agreement. And the agreement enforceable by law is a contract. So essentials of valid contract are, you have studied, which include the agreement must be lawful, the capacity has to be there within the parties to enter into a contract, etc., etc. So in certain transactions, all the essentials of valid contract may not be present, but still you have to treat these transactions as like a contract. So the relations between the parties in these transactions is very similar to or resemble with the relations between the parties of a regular contract. So you have to treat these contracts, or sorry, to treat these relations or treat these transactions as like a contract, or they are to be treated as quasi contracts, correct? Similar to the regular contracts, correct? Then we discuss supply of kinds of quasi contracts, supply of necessaries to incapable person. So a person who is supplying necessaries to a minor, or necessaries to a person of unsound mind, or a person who is dependent on them, then such person is entitled to be reimbursed. Parat paid. Reimbursement is what? Parat paid. Wapas milega from the property of that incapable person. Correct? This point we discussed in the last lecture. Next is payment by interested person. Payment by interested person. The interested person can recover the payment from the person who is legally bound by law to pay. There I gave you the example of land revenue or property tax is to be paid by me. You remember that? Property tax is to be paid by me and I do not pay it, and the government gives the land, takes the land for auction. Property is to be auctioned, lilav, and after recovery of the property tax, the remaining amount will be paid to me. But the new purchaser may not allow you to remain there. You are my tenant. The new purchaser may not allow you to remain there. Correct. So that's why the arrears of property tax will be paid by you because you are interested. A person who is interested in payment of money, which other is legally bound by law to pay, and if he pays it, then he is entitled to be reimbursed by the other person. Correct. Then we went on to payment for non-gratuitous act. Any act done without any intention of gifting it, gifting a property or gifting a thing, is a non-gratuitous act. Two types of acts are there: gratuitous act and non-gratuitous act. Gift is a non-gratuitous act. So I gave you the example that you are going to your friend, it's heavily raining, and you take an umbrella. When you are leaving for your home from your friend, there are no rains, so you forget the umbrella. This is the normal phenomena. When we are going somewhere and the rains are there, we use the umbrella, but while returning back or while going ahead, what happens? The umbrella is most of the times forgotten because there are no rains outside. So we forget the umbrella where we have taken it. At that place itself we forget it. So you have forgotten it at your friend's place. So you have not given him a gift, no? And your umbrella, the umbrella is used by your friend or he sells it off. In that event, he will have to give you the money which he has received by selling it. Correct. Then we discussed about finder of goods. What are the duties and rights of finder of goods? Who is finder of goods? Correct. And then we discussed about payment of money or delivery of goods by mistake or under coercion. So there we discussed that the double payment is made. So the receiver receives the money in double by mistake, no? So it is his duty to refund that money which he has received as double amount. Correct. So that's all with respect to quasi contracts. Now let us have a new PPT. Free consent we have done, void agreements we have done, contingent contract we have done, quasi contract we have done. Now e-contracts. Now this is the easiest chapter. E-contracts. Now read the first paragraph. Finish reading the first para. Let us read it together. These contracts may also be called as digital or online or cyber contracts. See, keep it in mind that you are making an online purchase of a particular thing. That is called as e-contract. Correct? These contracts may also be called as digital or online or cyber contracts. These contracts are modeled and executed electronically without the parties meeting face to face. If you are buying something on a particular site, do you see the seller? No. Or whether the seller is seeing you, you are not on before you. If you go to the shop and you directly buy it, you know who is the seller, and the seller also knows who is the buyer. But when you are doing purchase online, the seller doesn't know who you are. He is not before you, so you do not know who is he. Though, so you don't meet face to face. Correct, no? आगे पढ़ो. They are entered. These contracts are entered with the aid of an email, internet, or computer related products. E-contracts also, like traditional contracts, have the same essentials, which are as follows. So you are buying the product online, so you are entering into a e-contract. These contracts also require essentials of valid contract. First point, offer, website displaying the goods or services, and price is an invitation to offer. The customer makes offer by putting things in the virtual basket or shopping cart. These words you must know by now. Okay, virtual basket or shopping cart. So if you select the item, it is added in the cart. Correct. So that is the proposal. The customer makes offer by putting the things in virtual basket or shopping cart. Correct, no? Acceptance. It is usually assumed after the offer is made. So it is for sale, no? The things are displayed for sale. So once you put the offer by putting the things in the virtual basket or virtual shopping cart, it is called as proposal, and the proposal is bound to be accepted. Correct. So it is usually assumed after the offer is made. Consideration needs to be present. Consideration would be there. You will pay. They will demand a payment from you. No. Then intention to create legal relations. That is also to be there. Then capacity to contract. Free consent. Object must be lawful. Correct. Processes available for formation of e-contract. Email, website forms, online agreements. I accept, I agree. After that, reading the conditions, you have to click on I accept or I agree. Otherwise, the transaction will not proceed. Okay, there are three types of web contracts: click wrap, shrink wrap, and browse wrap. Then e-contracts are governed by which acts? Indian Contract Act 1872, Information Technology Act, Civil Procedure Code, Indian Copyright Act, Information and Technology Intermediaries Guidelines Rules 2011. Okay, then legal issues. There are certain assumptions. First assumption is what? Presume. You have to take it that these things are there. One, offer is attributed. Second, acceptance is assumed. We seen it, no? Point three, in case of email, postal rule shall apply, and in case of website contracts, acceptance rule shall apply. You just remember this, okay? There are no theoretical questions, or you are not supposed now. You are not supposed to. Up till now, there is no clarification, but you may not be required to uh, write theory paper. The paper will be in the form of multiple choice. So certain things will not be there in multiple choice. No. So the legal issues, just remember these points. In case point number three, in case of email, postal rules shall apply, and in case of website contracts, acceptance rule shall apply. Always try to understand that the exam is the don't study the chapter or don't study the syllabus from the point of view of only exam. Study it from the point of view of knowledge also. No? Why it is taught to you exam में pass होना है, that is not the only view. No, you will have to pass in the exam, that is correct, but to gain the knowledge or improve your knowledge, that is also the criteria, that is also the requirement, no, of the syllabus. Correct. Fourth point, time and place of dispatch and receipt of electronic record will play crucial role in aspects of territorial jurisdiction, applicable laws, evidentiary issues, period of limitation. E-contracts are in this regard are in beginning stage. Correct. So this is a chapter with respect to e-contracts. Then let us stop the share of this also, and we'll move on to the next chapter. That will be the last chapter of performance and discharge of contract. After this chapter, we will be completing the revision with respect to the module 2. Correct. Now, performance of contract. Before the discharge, we have to think about the performance of contract. The parties to the contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promises, unless such performance is dispensed with or excused under the provisions of this act or any other law. Very important sentence. Read this, read the sentence. Have you read it? What the sentence says, the parties to the contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promises. So when the parties enter into contract, those parties are required to do certain things in the contract. Correct? So those certain things which are required to be done are their responsibilities to be performed or duties to be performed or obligations to be performed. Correct? Naturally, no. Just contract is cannot be made for doing nothing. No, contract is there for doing something. So that something is to be done or something is not to be done. Some acts are required to be done or not to be done by the parties. So every party is under obligation to perform certain things. That's what we have written. No, the parties to a contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promises. So each party has to perform its part of the contract. So one party will perform his part of contract, other party will perform his part of contract. Correct, no? Correct. So what do you mean by must either perform or offer to perform? Offer to perform means what? Performance is to be offered. Let us take an example. This example will continue at the time of breach of contract also. I am a builder, you are a landlord. You give me the contract for construction of 20-storied building on the land which you are owning. So I undertake to construct the building of 20 floors on the land provided by you. So you will hand over the possession of the land to me on 1st October and I will start the work from 1st October. Today is what? 28th of September. So 29th, 30th. So within 2 days, after 2 days, you will hand over the land to me for starting the construction. And I will start the construction from 1st October. On 1st October, I come to you along with JCB and piling machine, etc., etc., and tell you, yes, I am ready to perform my part of contract, that is start construction. So what I have done, I have offered to perform my obligation. What is my obligation? To construct the building. So I am starting the work. I have given you the offer. Yes, I am ready to start the work. So that is offer to perform. Understood? Let us read the next paragraph. Where a party tenders or performs, where the party tenders to perform but is not accepted by the other party. The party tendering in discharge from his obligation to perform, provided it was unconditional. Please read carefully. Where a party tenders to perform. Tenders to perform means offers to perform, but is not accepted by the other party. On 1st of October, I came to your place telling you that, sir, I have got the machinery with me. Please hand over the land to me. So I have tendered the performance. I have tendered the performance. Correct? but it is required to be accepted by you also. You have to hand over the vacant possession of the land to me so that I can start the work. But you say no, come after a few days. So I have given my tender of performance, but you have not accepted the same. Correct? In that event, the party tendering the performance is discharged from his obligation to perform. So if you say like this, sir, please come after a few days, then in that event, I am not responsible for non-performance. I had come to you for performance, no? You have told me, abhi nahi milega, baad mein aa jana. Correct? So that is not my mistake. Correct? Read further. The concept to be studied under following heads. By whom the contract must be performed. Time and place of performance. Performance of reciprocal promises and appropriation of payments. Correct? The concept to be studied under the following heads. By whom the offer contract must be performed. Who will perform the contract? Time and place of performance. Where the performance is to be done. At what time. Within how much time. Performance of reciprocal promises. How the promises of each party are to be performed. Appropriation of payment. How the money received or money paid is to be appropriated. Where it is to be appropriated. To which thing it is to be appropriated. These all things are required to be studied. Okay. Let us go to the next slide. Discharge of contract. Discharge. Discharge is what? Coming to an end. A patient is discharged from the hospital. Patient is discharged from the hospital. Means what? By there will be only two ways of his discharge from the hospital. Either he is well and he goes home, or he goes up. Either he comes home or he dies. So the work in the hospital is over. Once the work in the hospital is over, a patient is discharged. The work will be over means either he is well now, so he will be sent home. So he is discharged from the hospital, or the work is over because he is dead. No work can be done. So he is discharged from the hospital. So discharge means what? The work at that place or work in that transaction is over. Please try to memorize what I am trying to tell you. Correct? So discharge of contract means termination of contractual relations between the parties. Termination. Termination is what? Terminate. To come to an end. Victoria Terminus. VT. Now Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus. Correct. So the train comes to an end there. The route is coming to an end at CST. Dadar TT, Dadar tram terminus. Parel TT, the Parel tram terminus. Tram terminus. So the tram terminates there. The route of the tram comes to an end there. Correct. So discharge of contract means what? Termination of contractual relationship between the parties. Termination is what? Coming to an end. So contracting relations come to an end between the parties. The contract is said to be discharged. Correct, no? Correct. Let us see how many ways are there for discharge of contract. A contract may be discharged by following ways. Discharge by performance. Discharge by performance that we discussed, no? Discharge by performance takes place when the parties to the contract fulfill their obligation arising under the contract within the time and manner prescribed. So once the parties fulfill their respective obligations under the contract, nothing remains to be performed, no? You gave me the land for construction. You gave me the land for construction. I constructed the building of 20 floors. The work is over. Nothing remains to be done in the contract. You have paid me the money for that, for construction of the building. Now what remains in the contract? No, I have performed my part of contract. You have performed your part of contract. So the contract is discharged by performance. How the contract is discharged? Discharged by performance of the contract. Both the parties have fulfilled their respective obligation. Respective means of each of the parties. Both the parties to the contract have fulfilled their respective obligations. The contract is therefore discharged by performance. Correct? So that is discharged by performance. Next is discharged by agreement or consent. Discharged by agreement or consent. Small a in that. Novation. 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 Substituting an old contract with a new contract. Parties or terms or both may change. Substituting an old contract. So in place of old contract, a new contract is entered into. In place of old contract, new contract is entered into. Either between the same parties or different parties, or with the same terms or different terms. So earlier contract comes to an end. No? My internet connection is unstable. It's okay, chalo. So in such event, the earlier contract comes to an end. So it is a discharge of the earlier contract. Is it not? That is novation, rescission. Rescission means cancellation of the contract. Cancellation of contract brings an end to the contract. Is it not? Then alteration. Alteration. Alteration means what? Change. You alter your trouser, or you alter your shirt, or a dress is altered. So what do? It is changed. No? The dimensions or specifications change. That is alteration. The terms of the contract are changed, but there is no change in the parties. In novation, there was a change in the parties, but in alteration, there is no change in the parties. Only the terms of the contract are changed. So in a way, it is a new contract. The earlier contract with different terms has come to an end, and the terms are changed. So the new contract has come into picture. So the new contract has come into picture. So that is the new contract which has come into existence because of alteration. Remission. Acceptance of lesser fulfillment of promise than what was contracted for. This is something interesting. Now I sell the goods of rupees 50,000 to you. So when I use the word sale, it is my cost plus profit, no? So that 50,000 includes my profit also. Correct? So what is the contract? I will sell the goods and you will make the payment. I have sold the goods, I have delivered the goods to you, but you are not making the payment. So I have performed my part of contract, but you have not performed your part of contract. So if I tell you that instead of 50,000, pay me 48,000 only. So I am accepting a lesser fulfillment, less. So what is the promise given by you to me? That on receipt of the goods, you will pay me the sale price of 50,000. But you are paying the lesser amount and I am accepting the lesser fulfillment of the promise than what was contracted for. So what was contracted for? Rupees 50,000. What was contracted for? Rupees 50,000, no? Rupees 50,000 was contracted for. But you are giving me lesser fulfillment, less than 50,000. How much you are paying me? 48,000. But the contract between you and me will be coming to an end, no? Because of what? Remission. I have given you concession. So that is discharge of contract by way of remission. Waiver. Party gives up his right to enforce performance. Instead of 48,000, I tell you that if you don't have money, don't pay me. Forget about it. So I am giving up. I am giving up, or I have given up my right to enforce the performance. Actually, you should have paid me 50,000. But I am telling you, don't pay me anything. So I have given up the right for recovery of the amount. So that is called as waiver. Next is merger. Merge. To merge means to come together. Two things, when they come together, it is called as merger. You must know this. Merger, amalgamation. In accounts, you must have studied this. Merger, amalgamation. So merger, when inferior right accruing to the party merges into a superior right. इधर ये होना चाहिए, merges into a superior right accruing to the same party. Accrue means what? Right of a party, or it is coming to a party. Here I will give you an example. You are a tenant of a flat. You are a tenant of a flat. So the contract is between you and the flat owner that you will pay the rent to the flat owner and he will give you the flat for use. Correct, no? After some years, you give him an offer that you want to purchase that flat. And you purchase that flat from him. You purchase that flat from him. Are you a tenant now? No, you are not a tenant, but you are the owner. So your ownership right is superior than that of the tenancy right. Is it not? Tenancy is
कबाट पूर्ण लावून घे आधार तुझं पूर्ण एकूण एक कबाट लावून घे नुसतं तिथे उलगेगिरी करू नको कपड्यांचा विल्हेवाट लावू पाहिजे.
there was a disturbance from somebody. So tenancy right is inferior in quality than the ownership right, no? So once you purchase that flat, you are no more a tenant. So your inferior right of tenancy has mixed up or has merged with the superior right of ownership. Correct, no? Your inferior right of tenancy has merged with or has mixed with superior right of ownership. Correct, no? So the earlier contract of tenancy has come to an end because you are no more a tenant. So earlier contract of tenancy is terminated. Why? Because your right of tenancy is mixed up with or merged with right of ownership. Correct? Then is discharge by, third point, discharge by impossibility of performance. Impossibility of performance. Not possible to perform. Not possible to perform. Correct, no? So till this time, how many types of discharge of contract we have seen? First was discharge by performance. Second was discharge by agreement or consent. And third, we are going to start with now, discharge by impossibility of performance. Now we'll go on for a break. We will sharp start or rather continue at 9 o'clock. At what time? 9 o'clock. So please be in the lecture again at 9 o'clock. Okay, get yourself refreshed, have something, eat something, and then join. Correct? So we are meeting again at sharp 9 o'clock. I am not disconnecting the meeting. The meeting will continue. Let the recording be there, and let me add the students who are joining. I am just stopping my video and keeping me mute. Okay, but you have to be here again at 9 a.m. sharp. Okay, chalo. Chalo, are you people back? So we were discussing about discharge of contract, correct? So discharge of contract, the ways of discharge of contract was first was discharge by performance. So if the contract is performed by both the parties, the contract is discharged. Point number two, discharge by agreement. So this novation, rescission, alteration, remission, waiver, merger, all these things are because of the agreement between the parties, is it not? Novation, that the parties decide to start a new contract. Rescission, cancellation is at the instance of the party. Alteration, change in the contract at the instance of the party. Remission of acceptance of lesser fulfillment at the instance of the party. Waiver, giving up the thing at the instance of the parties. Merger, correct? So discharge by agreement or consent. So agreement between the parties or with the consent of the parties, correct? Now, third is discharge by impossibility of performance. We'll wait for 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. The students who have gone on break, let them come back and then we will start with this. So all have joined now. So let us start. Impossibility, discharge of impossibility of performance. Impossibility, performance is impossible, correct? Let us read small a. Impossibility existing at the time of agreement. Impossibility existing at the time of agreement. So at the time of agreement itself, the impossibility is there. What it is called as pre-contractual impossibility. Pre-contractual. So before the contract or before the entering into of the contract itself, it is impossible to perform. In such event, the agreement is void ab initio. Correct, no? Contract cannot be performed. So how can there be a performance? Pre-contractual impossibility. Pre-contractual. So the impossibility of performance is there from the prior to entering into of the contract itself. So it is called as pre-contractual impossibility. The agreement is void ab initio. impossibility known or unknown to both the parties or known to one party. The impossibility may be known to one party and may not be known to other party, or impossibility may be known to both the parties. In any event, if the contract is impossible to perform prior to entering into of the contract itself, the agreement is void ab initio, from the beginning itself. Correct? Point B, impossibility arising subsequent to the formation of the contract. So when the contract is entered into, at that time it is not impossible to perform. But after the contract is entered into, because of some reasons, the contract becomes impossible to perform. This is known as post-contractual impossibility or supervening impossibility. Post-contractual impossibility or supervening impossibility. Correct? Impossibility arising subsequent. Subsequent means what? Afterwards. Subsequent to the formation of contract. Post-contractual or supervening impossibility. Correct? Let us go further. Discharge by supervening impossibility. So when there will be a supervening impossibility, destruction of subject matter of the contract. The subject matter for which the contract is entered into is destroyed. Is destroyed. So destruction of subject matter of the contract. Second is commercial, second is death or insanity of a party. If the party dies or becomes insane, if the party dies, contract comes to an end. That was not known when the contract was entered into, no? Or insanity, insane, unsoundness of mind. So there he loses the capacity to enter into a contract. So that is why the contract comes to an end. Then declaration of war. Contract is suspended. Non-occurrence or non-existence of a particular state of thing or change in the law. So suppose the law changes, which makes it unlawful to do a particular act. But when the contract was entered into, it was allowed. After the entering into of the contract, that thing is not allowed. So the contract becomes void. After entering into of the contract, the thing is becoming illegal. Okay. Following are not impossibilities. Certain things are not to be treated as impossibilities. Difficulty to perform. No, difficulty to perform cannot be treated as impossibility. Next is commercial impossibility. Third is default of third person relied upon by the promisor. Fourth is strikes, lockouts, riots, civil disturbances. Fifth is partial impossibility. So these things are to be treated as non-impossibilities. So if the contract is not, or the contract is not, or the other parties to the contract is not in a position to perform because of these aspects, then you cannot say that it is impossible to perform. Okay. Next point. In case of supervening impossibility, the contract becomes void. Any benefit got has to be restored, and when fact of impossibility is known to one party, innocent party can claim compensation. So in case of supervening impossibility or post-contractual impossibility, the contract has moved ahead. The contract has moved ahead, no? So there is a possibility that one party has received some benefit from the contract. If the contract becomes impossible to perform, that benefit is to be restored or to be redelivered to the other party. Correct? Another thing is, if the fact of post-contractual impossibility is known to the one party, then it is for that party to tell the other party that let us not do this per contract, this will not work. If that party does not disclose it to another party, then the party who is suffering can claim compensation from the party who knows about the impossibility. Correct? Okay. Point number 4. Read the point number 4. Discharge by lapse of time. Lapse of time means passing of time. What is written? Discharge by lapse of time. That is passing of time. The Limitation Act 1963 lays down certain specified periods within which different contracts are to be performed and be enforceable. If a party does not perform, action can be taken only within the time specified by the Act, failing which the person is deprived of his remedy at law. Suppose the contract is not performed by the other party, you can file a case against him. Correct? But that case is also required to be filed within a particular period of time as per the Limitation Act 1963. If that case is not filed within that particular period of time, then the remedy is lapsed by time. So the party cannot file a case after that particular time is over. So the right to file a case is lost. Is this clear? Let us go further. Discharge by operation of law. So the law takes its course, and because of the law, the agreement or contract comes to an end. Point A, insolvency. If the party to the contract becomes insolvent, it loses the capacity to contract. Correct, no? Capacity to contract, if it is lost, then the contract comes to an end. Point B, material alteration without the permission of other party. Alteration, change in the terms of the contract. Change in the terms of the contract without the permission of the other party. So two parties are there in the contract. One party makes changes in the contract without the permission of the other. The other party will definitely say, no, that these changes are not acceptable to me. Let us quit. Let us stop the contract here. Correct? Next, death of a party. Death brings everything to an end, no? So on the death of the party, the contract will come to an end by refusing tender of performance. So I gave you the example. On 1st of October, I come along with JCB and all other machinery for starting the performance. At that time, you tell me, come after a few days, we are not ready. So here you have refused the tender of performance. So the contract is actually breached by you. Correct? Or there is a discharge of contract by operation of law. Next, where facilities promised are not provided. The facilities which are required to be done, required to be there, are not provided. Promised, which were promised, are not provided. Next is discharge of contract by accepting performance from third party. Third party accept the performance. From third party, the performance is accepted. The contract comes to an end. And last is performance excused by law. Performance excused by law. Now you please read the discharge by operation of law once again. Finished? Then we'll go on to the next slide. Discharge by breach of contract. Read that. What do you mean by breach? Breach of contract means breaking of the obligation that a contract imposes. When the party refuses to perform the contract, it is known as breach of contract. Breaking of the obligation, so not performing the contract, in short. Correct? So if a person refuses to perform or does not perform his part of contract, then it will be breach of contract. Correct? A breach of contract occurs in two ways. A, actual breach, and B, anticipatory breach. Please read both. Let us read now. Actual breach. When a party fails or neglects or refuses or does not attempt to perform. Meaning of all the things is one, no? Contract is not performed. His obligation on the date fixed for this purpose. On the date fixed for this purpose. It results in actual breach of contract. This type of breach can take place on the due date of performance or during the performance. What does it mean? When a party fails or neglects or refuses to, does not attempt to perform his obligation on the date fixed for this purpose, it results in actual breach of contract. This type of breach can take place on the due date of performance or during the performance. So I gave you the example that you gave me the land for reconstruction, or the old building for reconstruction, and I am there to build a 20 floors building on that land. That is the contract. The work is to start from first day of October 2021. So what is the date fixed as per point A for the purpose of performance of contract? What is the date fixed? 1st October. On that day, if I refuse to perform my part of contract, that is actual breach. Correct? That is actual breach. Or if I start performing contract on 1st of October 2021, but thereafter during the performance, if I refuse or stop doing the work, then also it is a actual breach. So to understand what do you mean by actual breach, if on the date fixed for performance of the contract is not performed or refused to be performed, or during the performance, the contract is not performed or refused to be performed, then that is called as actual breach of contract. Correct? That is called as actual breach of contract. Now let us see what is anticipatory breach. When before the date of performance. Now what is the date of performance in the example which I gave you? 1st of October 2021. So when before the date of performance, the promisor declares his inability to perform the contract, it is called as anticipatory breach of contract. So before the date of performance, that is before 1st of October 2021, if I tell you that I will not construct the building on the land given by you, then that is called as anticipatory breach of contract. Correct? Anticipatory breach of contract. Correct? No? Let us go further. The aggrieved party has following options. Now the contract is break by me. So what is the remedy available to you? Correct? No? Contract is breached by me. Just a minute, give me few moments. Chalo. Admit all. So he can immediately treat the contract as discharge and bring an action for damages. Aggrieved party means you. I have stopped the construction, or I have told you prior to 1st of October itself that I am going to stop the construction, or I am not starting with the work. Correct? No? You please go on reading. I am doing something other thing. चलो shit. चलो, let us start. I had to message somebody very importantly. चलो. So if I refuse to perform the work on 1st of October, that is actual breach, or after starting the work on 1st of October and during the continuation of the work, if I stop the work, that is actual breach of contract. And if prior to the date of performance, that is on 1st of October 2021, prior to that date, if I refuse to perform the contract, then that is anticipatory breach. So in both the events, aggrieved party, that is suffering party, will be you, is it not? Suffering party will be you. And what remedies are available to you? First remedy is he can immediately treat the contract as discharged and bring an action for damages. You can immediately file a case against me for damages. Correct? B, he may treat the contract as operative and wait till the due date of performance. So in case of anticipatory breach, you will wait till due date of performance. What is the due date of performance? 1st of October 2021. If the party in breach decides to perform, other party is bound to accept. If in the meantime subsequent event discharges the contract, the party in breach will be discharged by operation of law. If none of the above situation arises, the aggrieved party can bring an action for actual breach of contract. What we have written? He may treat the contract as operative and wait till the due date of performance. Correct. If the party in breach decides to perform, other party is bound to accept. So if the party in breach decides to perform the contract, the other party is bound to accept. If in the meantime subsequent event discharges the contract, the party in breach will be discharged by operation of law. If none of the above situations arise, the aggrieved party can bring an action for actual breach of contract. Correct? So this is all with respect to breach of contract. Now we will move on to the next chapter, which is covered in this PPT only, remedies for breach of contract. Now, before we start with this, I will just give you the link for today's attendance. Today is 28th, no? Hmm. Twenty-eight 9. Hmm. I am giving you the link now. Have you received it? Please reply. Okay. So now, next part of the chapter in module 2 is remedies for breach of contract. What do you mean by remedy? What do you mean by remedy? Remedy means solution. Is it not? Upaya yojana. What are the remedies for breach of contract? So if there is a breach of contract, what will be the remedies? That is the thing which we have to understand. The purpose of remedy or remedies is to put the innocent party in the position in which he would have been if the contract had been performed. So had the contract been performed, what would have been the position of the innocent party? There are two parties, no? For breach of contract, for contract, there are two parties. And if there is a breach of contract, one party is committing a breach. So that is called as party in breach. And another party is innocent party or aggrieved party. So innocent party has suffered a loss because of whom? Because of party in breach. So that party in breach has to make compensation or do something to put the innocent party in the position in which he would have been if the contract had been performed. Suppose the contract is performed, then in that event, what would have happened is the party's position would have been different. So the party is to be put in the same position had the contract been performed. So because of breach, the loss is caused to the innocent party. So that loss is to be made good. Made good means to compensate the loss. Is it not? Just a minute. Correct. So what are the remedies? What are the solutions? What are the answers if the contract is breached? First is rescission of contract. Rescission is what? Resigned. Cancellation of contract. Rescission is cancellation. Rescission means to rescind means to cancel. What is to be cancelled? The contract is to be cancelled by mutual agreement. Point A. By breach, innocent party can rescind the contract. Correct. Point C, by law, where the law may excuse the performance of the contract may be impossible and thus rescinded. So the first remedy for breach of contract is rescission, that is cancellation of contract. Correct. Point number 2, suit for damages. Suit for damages. Suit means what? A legal proceeding, a case which is filed. What do you mean by damages? What do you mean by damages? Monetary compensation for loss suffered. It is not damage. Please see the spelling. It is not D-A-M-A-G-E. It is D-A-M-A-G-E-S. Suit for damages. Claim for monetary compensation. Compensation is always for some loss, no? The loss is suffered. That loss is to be compensated. Claim for monetary compensation. The damages to be recovered can be such damages as naturally and directly arose in the usual course of things from the breach of contract. What we have written? The damages to be recovered can be such damages as naturally and directly arose in usual course of things from the breach of contract. Remote damages cannot be claimed. So the loss which is directly or naturally arising because of breach of contract, that loss only can be compensated. The remote losses or the losses not directly or naturally connected with the breach cannot be claimed. Correct? Damages claimed may be compensatory, damages, that is general or ordinary damages or special damages. So compensation, damages means nuksan bharpai, you can call it as nuksan bharpai, you can call it as. So damages means compensation, general or ordinary damages or special damages. Point number 2, vindictive or exemplary damages. Vindictive or exemplary damages. What do you mean by that? Damages for mental trauma or suffering. Because of breach of contract, there is some mental pressure or suffering, mental trauma. So awarded by way of punishment. So these damages are awarded by way of punishment. So they are called as vindictive or exemplary damages. Then point number 3, nominal damages. Party unable to establish actual damage suffered. Sometimes it may happen that the parties are not in a position to establish what exactly the damage has happened, how much damage has happened exactly. In such a case, law allows nominal damages. Point 4, liquidated damages and penalty. The contracting party undertakes to pay a certain sum of money to innocent party in case of breach. This amount is called as liquidated damages or penalty. Correct? So how many types of damages are there? Compensatory damages, vindictive damages, or exemplary damages. Third is nominal damages. Fourth is liquidated damages and penalty. Correct? So we will stop here. We will not go to the next point. Next point we will discuss in the next lecture. Suit for specific performance. So I have sent you the link. I am sending the link of attendance again to you. Please fill in the link of attendance. So if there are any difficulties, please ask me. We will open the house for 5 minutes. If you have any difficulties, please ask me. Any difficulties do you have? Please shoot the difficulties. Next department. If you have no difficulties, we will wind up the lecture. Your next lecture will be at 10 o'clock. Okay? So have a good day and all the best. Bye bye. See you.